Hi there. Our last video both had America's door and its doorkeeper. But I've got to correct something now. What's important, what's really important, is that the US has a new kind of government. It's being copied all around the world, but it's still bringing people here and allowing them to succeed. Some say ours is a terrible system. It's inefficient, it's ugly. Haha, that's true. But you still have to look at all the others. In some places, not here, not ever, you have a king and a queen ruling. Now that's called a monarchy, and some do really well for their subjects. But most are remembered for their palaces and for being tyrants. Now if you don't have a royalty, maybe you have nobility, little kings. They have, of course, castles, and that is called feudalism. There's also having the entire community own and regulate virtually everything. Now that sounds wonderful, except, as Margaret Thatcher once said, the problem is that eventually you run out of other people's money. Ask the Venezuelans about that. Go ahead, ask them now. What about from each according to his ability, to each according to his needs? Early Catholics lived by something like that idea. My uncle heard about communism from the Russians who freed his village from the Germans. He also learned that some are more equal than others. Think senior party members. Think Joseph Stalin. There are even systems that directly involve God. Iran today is trying to govern using the 8th century Quran. 1,000 years ago, the divine right of kings justified royalty. It gave us the Holy Roman Empire. And heck, look, even today, the Vatican still has its own country. But, and there's always a but, all systems have flaws. The United States originally counted blacks as 3/5 of a person, and that left slavery in place for 75 years. Fixing that design flaw cost the lives of 620,000 Americans out of a population of 31 million. Now that certainly underscores the words Civil War bloodbath, now doesn't it? The lesson is not that patriotism means giving the US a pass. No. It is that before you complain, you should understand a little bit about what you're complaining about. Look at the US Constitution. It contains our bedrock principles, and there aren't many of them. You might actually learn that the US isn't a democracy. Not a democracy. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. Government is complicated, and all that money is an incentive for bureaucrats to expand their reach and maybe put their thumb on the scale to help a generous donor. They're not bad people, but it's human nature. But still, you run into the law of unintended consequences, so there are going to be ever more snafus. And unfortunately, very little accountability for them. And by the way, the US government structure has competition baked in deliberately. It's there to fight human nature. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. We've got 3 equal branches: a president, the Supreme Court, and the Congress, one fighting 9 against 535. Some of them serve 2 years, others are there for life. And to make things even more complicated, we've got local, federal, and state officials who fight each other and sometimes fight you. And another, by the way, France followed the United States in getting rid of a king and building a new system. Theirs was more radical than ours. And I'm not talking about them cutting the king's head off. No. We are going to talk about the French Revolution in the future because it remains important. And the last, by the way, 2,000 years ago, Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon with his army to seize power from the Roman Senate. The word Kaiser, Czar, come from his name, but not Mike. What about you? Where's your name come from? I am Mike for the Be More Better team. Thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. Please comment, like, subscribe, follow. But always, always be more better. Body, mind, and spirit. And then be even more better when you help people by making your government do what it's supposed to do. And now a shout out to all government employees who are public servants. Thank you. This has been a pleasure. Until the next one. Bye now. What's really important is that the U.S. has a new kind of government. I have no idea. My uncle learned about communism from the Russians who but the law of